Hello, this is a demo for Monero Multisig graphical user interface. We're going to create some Monero Multisig wallets between different parties and some new Monero Multisig transfers. Setup that we're going to use is a simple buyer, marketplace, and seller that want to create a Multisig wallet and make transfers. So we'll just start. We'll start with the profile of the buyer. Just log in. First thing that we're gonna do is try to get our onion identity. Right now we don't have any because it's the first time that we log in with this user profile buyer. To get an onion identity, we just need to connect to the Tor network. So we'll do that now. This usually takes a couple seconds or a couple minutes. It really depends. So we'll just wait a couple moments. Okay, we are connected to the Tor network, and now we have an onion identity generated for this user. This identity is really important because it's what allows other users to connect to your Monero Multisig graphical user interface and generate Monero Multisig wallets. So let's go here. I've already created the profiles for the other users, so for marketplace and also for the seller. They already have their onion identities created. The thing that I'm going to do right now is just a small intermediary step, which is to add the onion identity of the buyer to the address books of marketplace and seller, so that later on is quicker for us to generate the MTC wallets instead of copy pasting addresses all the time. Okay. Now to generate a new multisig wallet, it's very simple. We just go to wallet, new wallet, create multisig wallet. Let's do that for all of them. Now, very important, when creating new multisig wallet between different parties, they all need to agree on a common reference so that the wallet can be identified between themselves. So just onion address is not really enough. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use order 1, 2, 3 as a simple example. Now we have here wallet name. This doesn't really matter because it's a local wallet name, so it does not have to be shared. So we'll just use some random wallet name and some random password. Here, your identity is very easy. You just select your own onion identity. The reason why you can select is because later on you'll be able to have multiple onion identities. So you'll have to choose which one you want to use. But in this case, it's easy. We just have one. Then we select the peer addresses. So we want to make this equal with the marketplace and with the seller. In this case, going to be 2 out of 3 multisig. 2 or 3 signatures minimum to process a multisig transfer. So we leave that as a 2, and we start the multisig. Now the buyer will be essentially waiting for the other participants, the other peers, to set up their multisig information. So we'll do that now. Okay. Now it should take a couple moments for the multisig wallet to be generated. So let's just wait a little bit. Here we go. So that's it. We have a new multisig wallet generated between a buyer, marketplace, and a seller. And all it took was a couple of clicks and sharing onion identities, and we can see that they all have the same Monero address for their new multisig. they can find the new wallet under wallets over here. There you go. And now we just need some Monero. We'll connect one wallet at the buyer, because it's usually the party that needs to fund this Monero wallet to send some Monero to this address. We'll do that just now. Just going to another wallet and send some Monero into this address. So if we come here and we refresh, we should see the balance changing. Check transfers. There you go, it's on the way. By the way, if you want to generate a QR code for this Monero address, you can just come here to receive, and you can generate the QR code over here. And also, if you want to generate new sub addresses for this account, you can generate them here very easily. Sometimes they are useful. Okay, that's it. Now we'll just wait 10 confirmations, and then we'll continue with the multisig transfer. Okay, now we have the 10 blockchain confirmations in our transfer. There we go. And we can proceed with the multisig transfer. But now, just before we do that, I want to make a side note, which is for Monero Multisig wallets, in order to display the correct balance, sometimes the wallet itself needs to import some information from the other peers. And when that is the case, we'll see a flag here that says imported needed. It will say yes. Right now it says no, but that's because while the video was paused, I actually connected the other wallets just to also update the balance, and the Monero Multisig graphical user interface already made the work of actually importing the necessary multisig information from the other wallets in order to display the correct balance. Now, of course, the wallet was empty, and this is the first transfer, so it's quite obvious that the balance was correct right at the beginning, right? But as soon as you start making transfers from other wallets with other signatures, that might not be the case. In any case, you would see here import needed as a yes. How you can see this happening in your Monero Multisig GUI is that if you come here to multisig import, you can see that there has already been some activity, which means that our new multisig wallet actually imported some information from some of the other peers automatically, and same thing imported happening the same in the other user profiles, basically. Okay. There's nothing much for the user to do besides just if they see that there's an import needed, user can just come here and making sure that the session is running. If not, just start session, and it will try to pull the information from the other peers automatically. Okay, now we can proceed with the multisig transfer. In our small example, the buyer would fund the wallet with some Monero, then the seller would send the goods to the buyer. The buyer would confirm to the marketplace that everything's okay with the goods and instruct the marketplace to make a multisig transfer with the payment for the seller. So we're going to do that now. It's very easy. We just connect the wallet on the marketplace. You want to make a new transfer. We select the Monero address for the seller. I already added this to the address book, so it's already here. We say we want to make the payment for the full funds. Small detail here, if we want to spend the entire balance, we need to instruct the wallet to deduct the transfer fee from the destination amount. Otherwise, it's going to complain that we don't have enough funds. Now we need to select from the signing peers who we want to sign this transfer. We need at least two. So one of them is us. Then we need to click the onion identity for the seller in this case, which is, let's just confirm that. So should be this one here. So it's this one here. Okay. So we just start the transfer. And what's going to happen is that we're gonna get some extra information from the seller, from the wallet from the seller, in order to be able to create the multisig transfer. And it has been created already, so this can be quite quick. Now, once we are happy with all the details from the recipient, amounts, the fee, the unlock time in terms of blocks, we can just prove on our end and submit the transfer to the seller in order to be signed and broadcast by the seller. So we can do that now. Okay, the transfer has been submitted successfully to the seller. The seller will see here a new transfer incoming. What happened on the marketplace profile is that we started a new session called transfer tracker. And this will essentially just ping the seller for the status of the transfer that we just submitted, so that we are all updated with what happened with the transfer. Okay, now on the seller side, we can just open the transfer, start incoming, inspect all the details regarding recipients, fee, and lock time. So this should be typically 0 blocks. We can also see who has already signed the transfer. So we can see the onion address, and then we can see who's next on the line. That's us. So if we are happy, we just approve and sign the transfer. And that's it. On the marketplace side, we can already see that it has been updated with the latest information. So our side, we can just open the save transfer here, and we can also see the same information. Everyone that has signed the transfer ID and so on and so forth. This information is all in local, of course. The information about the recipients and amounts does not go on the blockchain, but it's saved here locally, and you can delete it if you want. Okay, if you go back to the wallet, you can already see that the balance has already been updated to 0. You can already see here the new transfer with 0 confirmations. Usually on the other wallets, we will probably just need 1 confirmation on the new transfer in order for the balance to be updated. So still don't see here the transfer. But when that happens, what will likely happen is that all 3 wallets will start sharing multisig information with each other, just to make sure that whatever balance we are displaying is the correct one. But right now there's nothing much for us to do. Well, now I just want to cover a slightly different topic. We just saw how we could create a multisig wallet and a multisig transfer. And if you remember right at the beginning, there were some setup steps where we had to go to create multisig wallet, insert the wallet reference, wallet name, wallet password, and so on. And as you can imagine, that can be quite cumbersome and take some time. And therefore, the Monero Multisig graphical user interface has a feature called Trusted Peer, which should make all the setup much quicker among all the 3 parties. So the way that this works is both the buyer and the seller will go on the address book, and they will tag the onion address of the marketplace as a trusted peer. So let's see how we can do that. So address book, trusted peer, and we're going to select the onion address of the marketplace as a trusted peer. And what we are saying here is that this onion identity, or the owner of this onion identity, can generate new multisig wallets automatically with the profile buyer, with a maximum participants of 3, threshold of 2, and it can create up to 10 new Monero accounts with us. You can change this as you wish. We'll just leave it with the defaults for now, and we'll just add the onion identity of marketplace as trusted. So we'll do the same thing on the seller side. Go to trusted peers, inside address book, select the onion identity of marketplace as a trusted peer, and we add it. Okay, now what this means is that if we want to create a new wallet automatically, we just need one of the parties that is tagged as a trusted peer to do that for everyone at the same time. Okay, and the idea, if that's not clear right now, is that essentially the buyer would go on the marketplace and order something new, okay? And that would generate an order reference. With that order reference, the marketplace would ask all the participants to create a new multisig wallet automatically without them having to do any setup. And this means that the buyer would just have to have the Monero Multisig GUI open and connected to Tor. The same thing for the seller. And if that's the case, the marketplace can just create the new multisig wallet on the spot very quickly without anyone having to do any further setup. Okay, let's just show that. So order 456, that's going to be our example. We'll make another random wallet name. We select the identity of the marketplace. Again, we add the buyer and the seller as participants in the new multisig wallet, and we just start the setup. Now, what is happening is that both the seller and the buyer recognize the Onion identity of the marketplace as trusted. Therefore, they allow it to initiate the procedure for the creation of a new multisig wallet. And this is what we see happening right now. And there you go. We have a new multisig wallet created again between 3 parties. And this time, the only party that had to do the manual setup, it was the marketplace. All because both the buyer and the seller tagged the Onion identity of the marketplace as a trusted peer. If you go back to the trusted peer tabs, you can see that we already created 1 out of 10 allowed Onion identities. And of course, you can edit all these details as necessary. Okay, now you might be thinking that there are some risks regarding using the same Onion identity to generate multiple multisig wallets. As you can see, we have already generated 2 different Monero multisig wallets using the same Onion identity for each participant, and that's okay so long as we use different references for these wallets. But of course, there's a risk that we might get some spam, or that the Onion identity of a particular participant gets compromised and starts getting annoying requests. So in order to facilitate the management of this particular risk, which tends to be low, but it's a risk nonetheless, the Monero Multisig GUI actually allows you to generate multiple Onion identities. So let's make here an example for the marketplace. There you go. We have a new Onion identity, and essentially we can use as many Onion identities as we wish. So there you go. So instead of using the main Onion identity for new multisig wallets, we can use other ones. And of course, both the buyer and the seller can also do that if they wish. Of course, typically the most exposed party is going to be the marketplace, because it's going to be the slightly centralized party that's going to be generating multisig wallets across many different participants. One of the things that all the parties can do is actually monitor the number of requests that each Onion identity is receiving. The counter here is from the start of the login into the account. So if you start seeing a really large amount of requests, that might mean that something is wrong. You can also, of course, disconnect the Onion identity from Tor network entirely, so that way you will not receive any requests whatsoever. And also, depending on how the marketplace is set up, you can even start thinking of more creative ways of using different Onion identities. For example, both the buyer and the seller can create, I don't know, 10 different Onion identities, and they can give these Onion identities to the marketplace and instruct the marketplace to we just create or just use one onion identity once per multisig wallet, and then I'll give you some other onion identities or any other creative setup that you might think of. Also thinking about the particular risk of using the same onion identity and thinking of marketplaces, there's also another interesting feature of this software, which is called the notifier, and I'll make a walkthrough through that right now. So if you remember, we created multisig wallets by coming here, create multisig wallet. Now with the notifier, what we are trying to do is something slightly different, but very similar to what we did before, which is on the marketplace. Our goal will be to use the onion identity main, which is right now tagged as a trusted peer for both the buyer and the seller. And we're going to use this onion identity essentially to notify all the participants that we want to create a new multisig wallet. However, the onion identity that's going to be part of that new multisig wallet from the marketplace is not going to be main. It's going to be one of the other onion identities. And the idea is that we use one onion identity as a notifier, and then we use other onion identities for the different wallets. And that way we can more easily avoid any unnecessary spam or an unnecessary compromise of identities for any of the other wallets. So we'll do that now. So we go to wallets, new wallet. Instead of creating a new multisig wallet, we'll select notifier. We will also need a new reference that's common for everybody. So in this case, it's going to be order 789. We're going to select the onion identity of the notifier. In this case, it's going to be main because it's tagged as trusted peer by the buyer and seller. Then we need to select the peers or the participants in the new multisig wallet. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna just copy one of these new Monero onion identities into my address book so that's easier to use it. Okay, this onion identity actually belongs to marketplace, but that's okay. So new wallet, notifier, we need a new order ID. We select the onion identity of the person that's going to be notifying, that's going to be main, tagged as trusted peer. Now we select the participants in the multisig wallet, so it's going to be the buyer, it's going to be the seller, it's going to be the marketplace, but this time, as you can see, with a different onion address than what we are using as notifier. We keep threshold as 2, and we just start the notifier. So what's going to happen is that we are notifying all the peers that we want to start a new multisig. So successful, okay. And as you can see, already happening in the background, the new multisig wallet is already being generated. Okay. You can see here on what wallet details that who requested this new multisig wallet. It was by this onion address, but it has a different peer set. Okay, next I want to cover some of the other particularities of using multisig wallets, but for that we're going to need a little bit more Monero in our wallet. So I'm just going to send a little bit more Monero into this wallet, and then we can progress with this demo. Okay, just sent it some more Monero for our multisig wallet. It already has 10 confirmations, so we can make the new demonstration with a new transfer. So again, let's suppose that the marketplace needs to send some Monero as payment to the seller. And just to exemplify some of the difficulties of using multisig transfers and wallets is that, as I mentioned before, before we can make a multisig transfer, the seller actually needs to send some information to the marketplace so that the multisig transfer can be generated. Now, if the seller is not online, that can create problems, and we'll show that in a moment. We can simulate seller being offline in two ways. If you go here on settings, we can toggle this switch, share info with peers. Basically, this means that if we get a request to generate a multisig information to one of our peers, we're gonna refuse that, not generate anything else. Now, it might be the case that this wallet has some multisig info cached already in the background and might still share that information. And if that information is still recent, then the user that requests that information can actually create a new multisig transfer, but that will be only valid for 5 or 10 minutes before that multisig information becomes stale and no longer usable. The creator of the multisig transfer can actually create the transfer, but then the signing and broadcast of the transfer would fail because the multisig information is too old. So this is one way that we can do that. Also, this multisig information is also needed for the peers to import and display the correct balance in their own wallets. As we saw before, that has already happened a couple of times. Every time that we do a transfer or receive a payment into the multisig wallet, usually the wallets synchronize between themselves to display the correct balance. Okay, now there is obviously another way that we can simulate the seller being offline, which is to completely shut down the wallet, the graphical user interface. And there's another one which is also very straightforward, which is on the onion identities. We can just switch offline the particular onion identity associated with that multisig wallet. So that's what we're going to do right now. On the marketplace side, let's simulate again that we want to make a transfer to the seller to his Monero address. We want to send the full balance, and remember to deduct the fee from destination if we are trying to send everything. We want to select the seller as a signing peer, and we want to start the transfer. Now, as you can see, this transfer session is going to basically hang forever because the other peer that needs to send us the information is offline. And in this case, we just need the information from the participants that are going to sign the transfer, so we don't need from everyone. But still, we need their information to go into the next stage. You can jump into the other pages and then come back to transfers here, and you will see this one here still being prepared, still waiting for the peer to come online. So let's just simulate that seller actually comes online, and basically after a couple of moments we should be able to receive the multisig transfer and generate it. There you go, it happened quite quickly. Now, just for the sake of making a demo, I'm actually going to abort this transfer. Okay, and what I want to do and exemplify is the following. So we're going to make the seller offline once again, and as you just saw, it can be quite annoying to create a multisig transfer and then that transfer just hangs for a long time until the peer comes back online. And then once it's online, we need to come back into the graphical user interface and approve again the transfer before we send it to the seller for signing. So there's another way of creating multisig transfer, which is essentially pretty much the same, except that instead of asking for the user for some confirmation before sending to the seller, we just switch this toggle off, and essentially as soon as we get the information from the seller, our wallet will create a new transfer and send it immediately to the seller for signing. So it could be that we just start here the new transfer. we can go and take a walk and not worry about what happens here with the transfer, because as soon as we get the information, it will generate a new transfer and send it immediately to the seller for signing. Now, there is of course a small risk in doing this, which is especially if you are not using your local node here in the daemon settings. It can be that you are actually connected to a malicious node that when you create the new transfer, it's actually going to propose to you a really large fee amount. And of course, you don't want to do that. You don't want to approve such transfer. In order to avoid the scenarios, if you go back here into the account, you'll see here a switch called inspect guard. And what this basically does is for every transfer, if we get the fee generated being larger than 0.5% of the transfer amount, we will always ask the user to confirm the transfer before submitting to the next peer for signing. So in that scenario that we get a malicious transfer being generated, that transfer would not be automatically submitted. You can switch this off and save the settings, but I really don't see any reason why anyone should have this one off. In most cases, it's pretty harmless to have this additional guard on. Okay, if we go back into our multisig transfer that's still waiting for our peer to come online, let's just make it online. And as if you remember, we did not ask for a pre-confirmation stage, so let's do that now. Go back online. It could be always the case that it takes a couple of minutes for the peer actually coming back online on the Tor network, because his identity needs to be propagated, and so on and so forth. So, but we'll just wait a couple of moments. Okay, it took about a minute or so. I paused the video over there, but essentially the new transfer was generated automatically and submitted to the peer immediately. And if we go to the seller, we already got the new transfer, and we could just assign it like we did before. Let's do that now. Okay, now what we see here is an error that it can happen sometimes, which is, as I explained before, sometimes we cache the multisig information that we share with other peers, and that signature and that information can become stale. So the peer can indeed generate the transfer and submit to us, but then the signing and broadcast is basically gonna fail. It shows one of the difficulties of dealing with multisig wallets for Monero. In any case, the way that we sort this is just we wait a couple of minutes so that the multisig information gets refreshed on the seller side, and on the marketplace side we'll basically just create a new transfer in a moment and try it again. Okay, just waited some minutes. Let's try to do the new multisig transfer once again. Okay, so there is actually another reason why the multisig can become stale, which is if you generate the multisig info twice and share the first one with the peer, even though it was just generated say 1 or 2 seconds ago, the second multisig information will actually change the state of the wallet, and therefore the transfer that was created with the first multisig information will no longer work. So it's quite fickle process right now, but it is what it is. So let's try again. New transfer, same amount. And once again, we are not going to ask for inspection before we submit to the seller. So let's do that. There you go. Submit it automatically to the seller. Here it is, the new one. And now we just sign. It should work. There you go. There we go. So if you create a transfer and you sign it immediately with among all the peers, usually it works fine because no one has the chance to essentially generate a new multisig information for their own wallet and therefore changing the state of the wallet internally. So that's why some level of coordination is required sometimes. Now, just before closing this demo, some piece of advice. So the software is built for Linux and Windows. The Windows version is still a bit fickle, especially when trying to close wallets and secondary processes. Sometimes when you disconnect very quickly, it does not have the chance to disconnect the wallet properly and so on. So if you just do the typical Control-Alt-Delete and check any other running processes to fully close down the software, sometimes that can corrupt some of the wallets because it does not have time to save properly. So one of the things that you can always do is come back here to wallets and restore. You can restore the wallet from seed, and usually everything just works fine. You'll also have the opportunity to have the peers and your own onion identity and the external reference. You can also add standard wallets to this Monero Multisig GUI just for easiness of having everything in the same place. But as you can see fit, this software supports both multisig transfers and normal transfers. As mentioned before, you can absolutely use other remote nodes. It's not advisable as usually, but you can absolutely do that. You just would have to select one from here, add one to the address book. And finally, if you would like to know more about this project, you can always visit the GitHub page where you can find all the information, including how to support this project if you would like to. And you can also find information how to build from source for both Linux and for Windows and Linux, exactly. If there is enough demand, probably do also a release for macOS, and if people start using this software, we'll also create a headless version of this software to be used for backend processes, which should be quite useful for marketplaces so that they don't have to have one person creating all these flows for multisig wallets. It's much better to have everything automated with a proper backend script. And that's it really. Thank you very much.